What is up, guys? It is your boy Steady Chaos, and today is an exciting day. I just got the Asus PG259QN ROG Swift 360Hz 24.5 inch 1080p monitor delivered to my doorstep. Yes, you heard that right, 360 Hz. This display can push 360 frames per second. And you might be saying to yourself, well, why the heck would you need that many frames? And you must also be saying to yourself, wow, Steady Chaos, you must be a competitive gamer. And no, not really. I do play Call of Duty here and there. I am gonna play Battlefield 2042 online competitively, so I figured this monitor would come in great, or come in very handy for that. But primarily what I wanted this for is just a secondary screen. My primary screen is going to continue to be my LG C1 48-inch OLED. Anytime I want an immersive experience, I'm playing a single player game, I'm gonna try to game in 4K 120 on that with the infinite contrast, obviously. But anytime I want a really low latency experience or I play competitively online, I'm gonna use this ROG Swift 360Hz Asus monitor. I'm just gonna put this monitor on a swivel arm via a 100 by 100 VESA mount, and anytime I use it, I'll just move it out from behind my OLED right in front of my face, sit really close because it's only 24 inches, and then when I'm done, I'll just move the monitor and the monitor arm back behind the OLED and proceed as usual. So, you know, the stand is pretty good size in this thing, so I figured by having it on the monitor arm with the VESA mount, I saved myself a lot of desk space, which is really good. So this thing has some really impressive specs. Now this model was just released in very late 2020, I want to say November, December, so it hasn't been around too long. At the time it was, I believe, one of the first, if not the first, 360 Hz monitors to be released on the market. Now what makes it so special is it's not a TN panel. TNs have horrible viewing angles, the colors are washed out, they're not very good, but they're fast panels, so that's why companies continue to use them for low latency and low response times. However, with this monitor, it uses an IPS display, but not any old IPS display. It uses what's qualified as a fast IPS display, which is an in-plane switching display. So you get all of the same great viewing angles, you get the great color reproduction of an IPS, and you get decent contrast, better than a TN panel anyway, probably in the order of 1200 to 1 contrast. This monitor is also HDR capable, although it's only rated for HDR 400. So I think in many of the reviews I've seen, about on average it gets to around 450 to 475 nits of peak brightness in HDR, which probably isn't going to do HDR any justice, but it does get to 400 nits for SDR, which is great screen brightness for SDR. That should easily be able to fight any glare or ambient lighting you would have. Another caveat for this display, if you were gonna plan on running games at 360 frames per second, despite the fact that this is a low resolution monitor at 1080p, you need a very beefy system. I guess that goes without saying, but I have the Ryzen 3950X, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM overclocked to 4 gigahertz, and X570 motherboard, and the RTX 3080. So for a lot of games, while I may not be able to push 360 Hz like newer games like Resident Evil or Cyberpunk 2077, by playing in 1080p, I should be able to push close to 200 Hz, probably over. I think in Resident Evil I did a test and I was getting close to 300, around 280 or 290 in 1080p without ray tracing. So that would put this monitor to good use. And of course, if you play any older games, like say you play Dying Light or Battlefield 4 or something, you should be able to push 300, maybe 300 plus hertz in those games, Counter-Strike Go, things like that. So I am really excited to feel just the absolute low latency of this monitor. It is rated for around 2 to 4 milliseconds of input lag at 360 hertz. And it's rated for a 1 millisecond gray-to-gray response time. So this thing is even faster than my OLED panel out there. Not in terms of response, pixel response, but certainly in terms of overall input lag, it is faster. So without further ado, let's cut into this bad boy. Now, because it's already an open box item, I want to try to be careful with this box here not to mangle it in case I have to return it. But it does have the seal here, the Amazon certified inspection seal, indicating that the product is working just fine. We'll see. So let's cut open here. This is, you got to keep in mind too, this is a very small monitor, only 24.5 inches in total. which amounts to about 92 to 93 pixels per inch. So you'll still have some decent screen clarity, because even though this only is 1080p, it's just such a small monitor that you'll still have decent screen sharpness. Really somewhere on the order of my current C1 at 48 inches 4K, that's also around 91 to 93 pixels per inch. So this is going to have about the same level of perceived clarity, which is good. It's fine. I can work with that. All right. I think it would be best probably to lay this down. So why don't we do that right now? It says you want to put your hand in and pull out the box or the monitor like so. At least that's what the directions say. There you have it. All right. You take this box, move this out of the way. All right. So right off the bat, we are greeted with some wires. We have an HDMI 2.0 compliant cable. This is not a 2.1 compliant monitor, unfortunately, but I mean, you're running in 1080p anyway, so you really don't need it. I believe over HDMI, this gets 1080p 240 hertz. If you want 1080p 360 hertz, especially with HDR, you are going to need a DisplayPort, which obviously this has. Out of here. Take off this. All right, we can pull the top off. It's very well packaged. It looks very protected. All right, they already have the screen right here. Ooh. Ooh, sexy looking. That is a nice looking screen. Get styrofoam all over it. Yeah, 360 hertz, fast IPS in-plane switching display, 1 millisecond gray to gray, HDR. It also has what's called Aura Sync, so on the back of the monitor it has like a circular light that you can sync up with your gameplay to strobe kind of flashing lights behind you on the wall if you're so into that. I feel like that might be distracting, so I probably will disengage that. Okay, it has the arm here, or the stand, I should say, attached already. But you can take this stand off, and like I said, you can use a 100 by 100 VESA to connect it to a monitor arm, which is certainly what I'm going to do. Now, pull off the rest of this packaging. Why don't we peel this off while we're at it? Always satisfying. Now, if you're going to manipulate the picture controls, you have this really handy little knob right here that makes it easy to navigate the menu system, which is really appreciated. If you look on the bottom here, it has one DisplayPort in, one HDMI in. It has a headphone jack in too. And then that's the power in, so yeah. Now, here's the stand. I think you just slide it on here. How? Okay, so you slide it on and then you screw it in the back here, on the other side. So, turn it upside down. You can just use your hand to screw these in. And there you have it. Man, that stand was really, really easy to put in. There was no assembly required. You just snap it in place, screw it with your hand. You don't even need a screwdriver. And you can see it's good to go. So this thing is got pretty good ergonomics. You can tilt it like this or swivel it, whatever you want to call it, so you can use the monitor in a vertical position. You can tilt it back. You can kind of swivel it up and down like this. Side to side, you can turn it on the actual monitor stand itself. So the stand swivels. Really cool. Peel this off. And then here is the power brick. It's a relatively small brick. Let me take it out to show you guys. You see the size of the brick right here. It's probably 3 inches by 3 inches, so not too big, not heavy, not really cumbersome. And then, what do we got here? This is just the color calibration testing report. So it comes color calibrated for you out of the box, and I've seen in many reviews, whether it's Arting's or any other publication, they've said that out of the box, this thing is extremely color accurate, which is very, very nice. In terms of styling, it looks great. Obviously, it is fully G-Sync compliant or compatible, and it's not simply a software solution to this monitor. It has built-in hardware or a module for native G-Sync support up to 360 hertz. Whew, that is gonna be buttery smooth and amazing to play. I cannot wait. So that's gonna do it for this unboxing portion. Let's do a quick demo. We'll hook it up over in the gaming area over there. We'll leave it on the stand for now, and I'll just show you what she looks like right out of the box with a few games. All right, guys, let's do it. All right, guys, we have it set up here via DisplayPort to my PC. So I just, for now, like I said, kept it on the stand, set it in front of my 48-inch C1. And you can see the stand here. Pretty wide legs, as I said earlier. But yeah, the image looks pretty good. Like I said, it's a fast IPS. So you have pretty good color representation. The first thing I did when I turned it on is I made sure I went to display settings. And I made sure it's 1920 by 1080. You go to advanced adapter display settings. Make sure that it's on the ROG PG259QN. So it's 1080p, it's 360 hertz at 8-bit RGB and standard dynamic range. So why don't we try firing up a game real quick. We are in VRR using G-Sync with the RTX 3080. I am really looking forward to trying this game in close to at least 360 hertz, which is just astronomical. Check that out later. So if you go to options really quick, and you go to graphics, you'll see 360 hertz refresh rate, 1080p, full screen, variable frame rate, VSync is off. I have VSync enabled in the NVIDIA control panel. Everything else is maxed out, very high or on. sRGB, we'll go back, continue the game. Now you see I have Riva-Tuna statistics up, showing all the information in the top left-hand corner of the monitor. So right now we're getting 334 frames per second. Oh my god, is it buttery smooth. Hopefully this is coming through pretty well on the camera. I can only record at 60 FPS, but it's so smooth. I'm not even using black frame insertion. And usually, even when you're playing a 60 hertz game, if you slowly pan the camera left or right like this, you'd see some kind of jagginess or some steps because you're only doing 60 frames per second. But now, because I'm rendering 300 plus frames per second, right now it's dropping down to 250. But now because I'm rendering such high frame rates, panning the camera is so smooth. There's no stepping, there's no stutter or judder of any sort. It's very smooth. Of course, the image doesn't look as good as my OLED. The contrast isn't anywhere near as good, but it's serviceable, you know? And the reason why you're getting this monitor is for the FPS anyway, you know, for the low latency, the fast millisecond response time, the 1 to 2 millisecond response time, the 2 to 4 millisecond input lag at 300 plus hertz. That's why you're getting this thing. And that is what I'm experiencing right now. No tearing, no stuttering whatsoever, just complete silk. Complete silk. So really quick, I can show you the menu system, G-Sync processor. So that's ULMB, that's ultra low motion processing, or I don't know exactly what it stands for, but it's basically black frame insertion, NVIDIA's form of black frame insertion, which can only be done at 240 hertz. But I can't turn it on right now because I'm using VRR G-Sync. Whenever you're using VRR, you cannot use ULMB or BFI. So overdrive is set to normal. They recommend you not use extreme because then you can get pretty bad overshoot. So I keep it at normal. There's a bunch of, if you go into Game Plus, there's a bunch of hacks. Like you can set a crosshair, timer, FPS counter, display alignment, stopwatch, all that stuff. Game visual, these are your presets. You have scenery mode, racing mode, cinema, RTS RPG, G-Sync esports, which really makes visibility nice and bright. It tends to wash out the image and raise your black levels big time, but of course, if you're playing, you know, Call of Duty at the professional level, you're going to want a super fast monitor like this ROG Swift, and you're going to want to have excellent visibility. So that's really the whole point of G-Sync esports preset. It's not for color accuracy, that's for sure. And then they have sRGB mode, which is pretty accurate, but I find it to be a little dark. So I stick with racing mode, which I think looks best to me and probably most accurate. And again, this is an SDR, plenty of brightness. I'm playing in the middle of the day right now. And if you feel like you're not getting enough shadow detail, you can use dark boost. I have it all the way set to level 3 right now, but this is 2, this is 1, this is none. It's still easily visible at none. And if you want to have better blacks, I'd recommend you leave dark boost off. You go into image, you can adjust the brightness, contrast, variable backlight, aspect control, blue filter all the way to level 4. It makes the game extremely yellow, but it would be good on your eyes. I wouldn't recommend you use level 4 though, maybe level 2. Yeah, that's pretty good. We'll keep it at level 0 for now. Color, you can change the color temp, you can change the gamma from 1.8 to 2.6. The lower the gamma, the more visible the screen. You wash it out though. You go to 2.6 and the screen gets pretty dark, but you have better contrast. So usually somewhere in the middle is a good choice. 2.2, 2.4, somewhere around there. YCBCR sRGB gamma in SDR mode, and it's over DisplayPort. So they had that on by default, so I just left it. Input select is DisplayPort. Lighting effect, this is for the backlighting of the monitor, so you can have, you know, Aura Sync. I have it off. You can have Aura RGB, Rainbow, color cycle, static. I don't do any of that stuff. And then this is just system setup stuff. Display port, deep sleep. I don't know exactly what all these settings do yet. I haven't had time to tinker with them. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. As you can see, I'm pulling 318 frames per second right now. It is it's smoother for sure than my OLED. My OLED, like I said, the C1 is 120 FPS max. So this is 3 times the refresh rate, and it definitely is smoother. There's far less blur. There's absolutely zero stutter because you have such a high frame rate. So in that respect, it is a better gaming experience from a control and input delay standpoint than my OLED, but the image quality is nowhere near as good as my OLED. Although I will say it's not bad. I mean, we're still talking about a $600 or $700 monitor here. But, you know, it's just 1080p. It's not using any sort of full array backlighting system. It's edge lit. So keep that in mind. But, you know, I digress. This is all about speed. This is all about low latency. This is all about fast pixel response times. And based on my quick test here so far, it completely delivers. And I will say, in SDR mode like I'm at right now, it's plenty bright. And these specular highlight details still stand out pretty well here. So yeah, I mean, you can see I still have some headroom on my RTX 3080 card. I'm at 75 degrees Celsius, which is a little warm, but not too bad. But I'm only using 89% of the GPU right now. And for my CPU, it has no problem pushing 360 frames. It's only using 12% right now of the CPU. So I could probably push in excess of 400 or 500 frames if we had a monitor that was capable of that. So anyway, guys, hopefully you have enjoyed this unboxing and quick demo of the Asus, is it PG259? I can't remember now, I don't have the box to help me. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like, please leave a comment down below letting me know what you think, and please subscribe to the channel for more things tech. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.